No programa anterior, conversamos com a diretora do Bible Lands Museum, Amanda Weiss.
The name of the museum is very much the vision of the founder of the museum, the late Dr. Eli Borowski. And his vision was that you cannot read the Bible and just look at one small piece of geography and think you understand. Just the same way you cannot read one chapter of the Bible or one verse and know the whole Bible. You must read and understand that the lands of the Bible, which was a tremendous geographical period in land and place in the ancient world, is the history of humanity as we know it today, the roots of civilization. The Bible is our history book. Here in Israel, we teach Bible from the first grade. The youngest children learn Bible, whether they're in a religious school or a secular school, because the Bible is our history. So the Bible Lands Museum was created to show the history of all of the lands of the Bible and to give an opportunity for people to truly understand our history.
E conhecemos um dos mais importantes acervos do mundo. Um museu que abriga achados e artefatos que comprovam e nos ajudam a compreender melhor a narrativa bíblica. Hoje, vamos continuar o nosso passeio por esse espaço com o guia e curador do museu, Yehuda Kaplan. Nos acompanhe mais uma vez nesse passeio cheio de informações e inspiração. Está começando agora mais um programa Evidências em Israel. What do you have here?
So I told you that I want to invite you to eat something.
Yeah.
Thousands of animal bones were found during the 7 years of excavations, and they were examined. And the archaeologists found very interesting things there. First of all, you can see here in this chart what were the main animals that were eaten. Yeah,
cow and
cows and lambs and goats, some fish and.
This is the percentage of bones of animals that they found in here.
What is missing here, and if you compare it to the other chart, this is the animal bones from the nearby Philistine city.
Interesting, because I saw a pork here, but I do not see any pork there.
The absence of pork at Khirbet Kiyafa is a very interesting phenomena and important, because in the Philistine sites you will find pork bones, while in Kiyafa they are absent. And also in other sites in Judah, they're also absent. And this is another indication, together with the lack of Philistine pottery, that we're probably not dealing here with a Philistine city.
Israeli site.
Our Israelite or Judahite site, this is what the excavator believed, it has more relation to Judah than the northern part of the hill country.
Interesting. An Israelite site, and we can say also that from that time they used to have a kosher food, some kind of kosher.
That's a big question. What was their kosher? But the absence of pork bones is
just like the
Leviticus.
Leviticus in the Bible prescribed do not eat pork. We can say that this is some kind of law that we can see that time.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
This is a very interesting feature also, because when we talk about the Philistines, which were the main enemies of the Israelites, the people of Israel at that time, maybe the people of Israel wanted to say we are very different from our nemesis, from our enemy.
Yes.
You remember that the Philistines, how they are called in the Bible? They are called the uncircumcised. So this was another cultural feature of the Philistines. So there are two main things that make the difference between Judahite or Israelite and the Philistines.
Interesting.
The other, okay?
I can see some seeds here.
Yeah, those seeds are looking very, very simple, but we call them the real hero of Khirbet Kiyafa. These are olive pits. They were burned. And 28 samples of those olive pits were sent to laboratories for C14, carbon-14 examination. And when the results came back of those 28 samples, there was here a turmoil in the archaeological world, in the biblical scholarship. And why was that? Because all the results gave a date between the end of the 11th century, let's say 1020, to the beginning of the 10th century. 980, which is the time of King Saul, of the prophet Samuel, and the young King David. So to find here in the valley, in the Elah Valley, a fortified city, which brings you to an organized state probably, no pig bones, almost no Philistines. So the idea of the excavators that Khirbet Kiyafa is something which is related to the young Davidic kingdom.
Yes,
because we're talking about his time.
And fit to the chronology of the Bible, fit to the chronology perfectly.
Yeah, to what we believe about the chronology of the Bible.
Wonderful. Let's go to the Celtic section.
Let's see the Celtic section.
Oh, you have amazing miniature of shrines here.
Yeah, these are the famous shrine models.
Yes.
And they are part of the cultic sections. The artifacts that are shown here are probably related to cult. They are not just functional storage vessels or libation or for water or wine.
But this was found inside of a private home, private house.
Right. Those shrines, model shrines, were found smashed. For example, this one, the big one in the center,
restored.
which is unique because it's the only one ever found made of limestone. All the others are made of pottery. It's much easier to make it from pottery. This one you have to carve it in the stone. And this was completely smashed. It is now after restoration. And at the beginning, they didn't have no idea what it is. Only after it was in the laboratory and they glued it like in a puzzle, very excited, the conservator called them to come and see it, and they saw this. So actually, it's the same stuff that we see here in one main difference. The material is stone,
yes.
And it's also very, very big. You can see some traces of red paint on it. Mm-hmm. So it was probably originally
red
painted,
one. Yes, it's possible to see.
And inside, you see this like a
hole
on the floor, like a hole. Maybe there was something inside. What was inside, we do not know.
Because you didn't find any figurine, any statue
no figurine,
there.
No statues. Maybe there was another, maybe a small standing stone, who knows? We know that those shrines, they are known already in the Canaanite world, already from the 3rd millennium. A model very similar to this one was found in Ashkelon, in the Canaanite shrine near the gate of Ashkelon, together with a small figurine of a calf made of bronze and silver.
We saw that in the Israeli Museum.
So maybe this can give you a hint that inside those model shrines there were some cultic important artifacts. So again, maybe it was to give the idea of the divine presence inside the home. This was the idea behind those model shrines.
I heard that someone made a relationship between this architecture and the Temple of Solomon. Can you talk to us a little about that?
Right. So Professor Garfinkel raised a very interesting idea that maybe some of the elements that we see, for example, this very impressive entrance with those door frames, together with those what we know as triglyphs from the Greek world, which are found here for the first time, not in Greece, but here in the east at Khirbet Kiyafa. They are elements that are found in the very enigmatic text of the Solomonic Temple in the first book of Kings. We have a lot of technical terms like tzlaot, like the door frame standing one in front of the other, and Yossi raised the idea that maybe those elements that are seen here in this model were actually inside the Solomonic Temple, which was built, of course, some dozen years later. But here what you see is a reconstruction of the facade of the Solomonic Temple, right, with the two pillars at the front, the entrance, and you can see the same elements of the frames, and also those triglyphs, right? The door, the roof beams that actually cover.
And you have the same design here.
Exactly, and it's found here for the first time. Another very, very big discovery and surprise to see them so early, and in our region, and not far away in Greece, where they appear for the first time, maybe 400 years later.
Then all the part of this collection was found inside of some home, private home, for cultic purpose, and you have vases, you have shrines. Interesting, but
and even standing stones inside the cultic rooms.
But even that, we have many revelation and many doubts also.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions are raised here. First of all, what was the function of those shrines?
Archaeology is a continuous exercise.
What was the kind of religion that those people held inside? I mean, we know that, for example, the standing stone were part of the religion of even the forefathers. You remember the Jacob's dream when he made
put a pillar
standing stone
in
in Bethel, And also in the First Temple period, we know this phenomena, which later became illegitimate.
It's interesting because we are seeing the Bible inside of a culture, a historical culture.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Right.
There is more things to see here?
Yeah, those people knew how to read and write probably, so I want to introduce you to two of the amazing inscriptions that were
This is
found
a family scripture. I would like to know that. Let's
Please.
go. This is the artifact that I would like to see with my own eyes, because it's very famous. This is an ostracon,
Right.
found in Hirbet Caiafa. Tell us a little bit about the importance of this finding.
This was the first inscription out of the two that was found. And actually it was found by a young boy who was working
Together in the team of
He was
archaeologists.
very bored, so they gave him all kind of things to do. And he found this and he was very excited because it was a very large piece. And so they told him put it in the basket with all the other stuff that is going to be cleaned. And then at the same afternoon, one of the supervisors of one of the areas, he decided that he wanted to spend the time with the guys that are cleaning the pottery. And he came, he saw this piece, and suddenly he came shouting and saying, "Look, I found the A, the letter Aleph." He probably was pointing at this. You can see here the Aleph, you can see here the Aleph. and you can see
Here is difficult
like
to
the A.
see, but here you have the
Right.
same inscription.
So they actually, they have now to treat it very, very delicately, not to just to wash
Yes.
it like the other. The fact that we have here the Proto-Canaanite script in quite a late phase is very surprising. Dr. Hagai Misgav, who investigated and published this inscription, believes that maybe we're talking here about ancient Hebrew. If so, this is the most ancient Hebrew inscription ever found. Why he believes so? Because, for example, here we probably have the word melech, king, or limloch, to rule as a king. And maybe here we have the word shafat or shofet, to judge. And here the expression don't do, al ta'as, very similar to the Hebrew. The script is Canaanite probably. There is a probability that we're dealing here with a Hebrew inscription. If so, again, it can give us a hint who was the population living at Hirbet Caiafa. The fact that in such an early phase, already in the late 11th or early 10th century, we have people that know how to read and write at Hirbet Caiafa is very, very important. First of all, again, it goes to the fact that we're dealing here probably with an organized society, maybe a state, okay? And secondly, you know that the minimalists say that we can't say that the historical parts about David and Solomon are historical because we have no evidence that in such an early phase already people wrote. And here we have an indication that writing and reading existed in such an early phase. Again, to decide whether this is Canaanite or this is Israelite or Judaic is under debate still.
Amazing, amazing.
I want to show you another inscription if you
Oh, please,
if you will.
I would like to see that. There was really a great find. Just to explain to the people that is watching us, what is an ostracon? An ostracon, you know, is some kind of ceramic that people use to write receipts.
This is the early evidence that we have that also in early times
Yes.
people recycled. If you
Yes.
had a jar,
Yes.
the jar was broken, you could take the pieces, the shards, and write on them with ink.
Because the paper was so expensive, just like
Absolutely.
papyrus.
Exactly. So for simple things, for notes, for
Receipts.
exactly, you would use the
Interesting.
pottery. the
But we have here a piece of pottery, and I can
Right.
see also something writing here.
on the shoulder
Yes.
of the jar. Yeah, this is a
Tell
typical
us.
jar of Caiafa. And here we have an inscription.
Yes,
a
of
much
course.
shorter one, but the script is the same script. Here you can see, for example, the letter Ain, yeah, which is an eye. You see the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
circle and the pupil inside. Now, here we have a very
We
short
have Aleph
inscription.
also,
and the
we have Aleph,
and the
yes.
Shin. So we have here a missing word that did not survive, but here we have a personal name.
And this is the inscription in Hebrew before the Hebrew knows by the Bible,
Right,
by
it's not what we know as the Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew,
Paleo-Hebrew.
which developed a bit later. And the big question again is this is a personal name. Is it a Canaanite name or is it an Israelite name? Okay, what we have here? We have here a personal name as described in the Bible. X son of Y, right? So we have here Ishbaal or Eshbaal, Ben, son of Beda. The father's name Beda is unknown to us from any other source, not the Bible, not an extra biblical. But the name Eshbaal
appears in the Bible.
It appears in the Bible in a quote from the first book of Chronicles, where we have the sons of the first king of Israel, King Saul.
Of course. The first book of Chronicles tell about Ishbaal.
Right. So we have here, we know him from the book of Samuel in another name, Ishboshet, which is a negative name.
Yes.
But the original name was Ishbaal, the man of Baal. Now Baal, people tend to believe that Baal was the name of the Canaanite storm god, which was venerated through all the first time temple period. But Baal is not a personal name of the Canaanite storm god, whose name was Hadad, but it is a title of honor. Baal means the Lord. So it can refers also to another Lord, of course, that we know in the Bible, the God of Israel. So we can say that the name Ishbaal might be an Israelite name also, since the son of the first king of Israel, of Saul, was named Ishbaal also. And the fact that we find this name also at Khirbet Kiyafa, of course, we do not refer here to the same person, but the name was probably part of the Israel society, and this might be another argument for the archaeologists to believe that this might be an Israelite or Judaic site.
Which period is this description?
It's from the same period of all the artifacts that were found in the city. Again, late 11th century, beginning
10th
of 10th century exactly.
BC.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Right.
We have more artifacts to see?
We can see maybe how the city was looking like before it was destroyed.
Oh, this was fantastic.
Yeah,
Let's go.
This is the last station.
Okay. Then this, how the city would be like.
Maybe. This is a suggestion to reconstruct the city in the same location. What you see all around you is how this area, this hill is looking like today. And here we try to elevate the remains, the walls, the buildings.
The buildings. This is the official.
Maybe this is the administrative center. It is the largest building that was also built on top of the hill, so it's overlooking the entire area. Here we can see the area of the southern gate where we entered.
The first gate of the city.
And the gate square.
The public area is right here.
Right. And here you can see the western gate.
The second gate of the city.
That is facing Philistine.
This is so amazing because we do not find cities with two gates. There is some possibility of that city with two gates is the city of Sha'arim mentioned in the Bible.
This is a very interesting suggestion because we're talking about a quite small city, only 23 dunams, and as you know, the gate is a very vulnerable area. So why in such a small city to build two gates? One is facing generally towards the Judean hills, and the other one is facing Philistia. I don't think that we have an answer to this question, but maybe the idea
it's a great possibility
that Kiyafa should be identified with biblical Sha'araim, which is mentioned both in the story of the battle between David and Goliath, and also in the allotment of the tribe of Judah, together with Sochor and Azekah in Joshua chapter 15. Maybe. This of course also raises another logical problem, but the idea itself, since we don't have any hint in the name, the Arabic name of Kiyafa, it does not refer to any known biblical or ancient site that we know. So it still remains another question, another enigma.
Interesting. So that the people may understand why we have this possibility. It's not an assurance, but we have a possibility. Because, first of all, it's very uncommon to have a city with two gates.
Such a small city, absolutely.
And we have in Hebrew the name Sha'ar, that means gate.
Right.
Sha'arim, two gates. Two gates.
It's the dual form of Sha'ar.
And this is the name that we appear in Bible translation. Very interesting. And you have the homes, the private homes.
We have the homes that are abutting the casemate wall, which is actually defending the site. Now they found a lot of weapons made of bronze and iron. Remember, we are in the beginning of the Iron Age. And it means that the inhabitants of this site were afraid of their enemies. That's the
probably
reason why
the Philistines.
So maybe the Philistines. So the fact that we have here a fortified city in the border with Philistia, the archaeologists believe that it belonged to the young Davidic state. David, according to the Bible, drove away the Philistines from the hill country to their places in the coastal plain. So the archaeologists believe that Kiafa was built by King David himself. The site did not last for more than 30, 40 years. So we're talking about 1 or maybe 2 generations. Then it was destroyed and abandoned, never to inhabit it again as a city like this. So the theory around is that maybe David really built it, but then they had very strong enemies neighboring them. Remember the city-state of Gath, the hometown of Goliath? And we know that Gath, until the late 9th century, was the most dominant and large city in this area. So maybe the Philistines did not like the fact that the Judeans are building a town in the borderline, and they are the ones that were responsible for the destruction of Kiafa. And that's the reason why we found it in such a state. And that's the reason why we try to also reconstruct it here together with the interesting theories around this really amazing site.
I love this conversation, and to go to the end of our talk here, I would like to know from you your own opinion as an archaeologist and the curator of a museum. What is your opinion about the historicity of the Bible? Because we live in an area that many scholars used to say, even theologians, religions, and archaeologists, by the way, that the Bible is just a book of fables. It's not a book that you can trust in the historicity. What is your opinion about this subject?
That's the $10 million question that you ask here. I'm somewhere in the middle. I believe that the Bible was not written as a history, but it has historical data inside of it. The question is, where and when can we really prove it? Sometimes we have the archaeological evidence supporting us. Sometimes we can see that we have extra biblical sources that support the biblical narrative also. Not all the time. There are times, especially in this time, where the Bible actually portrays David and Solomon as emperors. Actually, they were ruling from northern Sinai to northern Syria. Where is this domination? Where is this empire in the archaeological record? Almost nothing. Nothing was found. That's the reason why Kiafa is so important, according to the archaeologists that excavated it, because they believe that here we have a proof of the early stage of the Davidic state. They don't say that Kiafa proved that everything that was written in the Bible is historical or true, but we have here more evidence than we used to have, because there are some scholars that are known as the very minimalists that say that David even was never existed as a historical figure. Until the 90s, nobody could prove it. But here today we have the House of David inscription found at Tel Dan, right, in the mid-90s, which proves that the kingdom of Judah was named after the moniker of the dynasty, the House of David. David himself was a historical. Now the question was, David an emperor? Was he the Messiah, which the Bible is portraying, or is like the Messiah that is going to come in the future? Or maybe he was a more minor ruler that dominated a very small, a state or territory, as others believe. I think Kiafa points more to the second option, but then we know that in the generations after David, he was glorified, and actually he became a role model of the real great king of Israel. All the other kings later on were compared to David, and in the Judaic and also in the Christian theology, David becomes like the role model of the future Messiah. And this was, we can say, the historical and theological process around David himself. What was the size, or what was David, the historical David?
Probably new discoveries.
Maybe new discoveries will give us more information.
Okay, let us leave the stones cried out.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us. My pleasure to be with you, okay?
Come again.
E então, gostou do nosso passeio pelo Bible Lands Museum? É interessante como o tempo realmente não apaga a história. Eu espero que você possa um dia vir a Israel e conhecer estes e outros artefatos que ajudam a compreender a historicidade da Bíblia Sagrada. Bem, o Evidências de hoje fica por aqui, mas não perca o nosso próximo encontro aqui na TV Novo Tempo. Até lá!